Hey guys, welcome to lesson 1. In this lesson, I'm going to cover the search terms report. This is an extremely important report that you're going to be spending a lot of time in order to optimize your account and eliminate any wasted spend as quickly as you can. So what I'm going to do is actually hop into the AdWords platform. I'm going to be doing this from the new AdWords experience and the new interface so that you can get an idea of how it works in that new platform. But it's basically the same exact process and everything's pretty much the same as the old interface. So no worries, no matter which platform or which interface you're in, this video should be pretty relevant for you. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here. We are going to just use an example account. This is a LASIK account, so we've gone through this course setting up a LASIK company as our test campaigns and test keyword research company that we've been using. So I wanted to use a LASIK company to go in here and show you an account that does have some actual data in it for all of our optimization lessons. So the first thing you want to do is go down here to your keywords tab. So once you're inside your account, it should be along the left hand side here. And we want to look at it per campaign. So right now I don't have any specific campaign selected. So if I click keywords right now, it's going to take me to a screen where it's going to display all my keywords across all my campaigns. And you can see that I'm only in my account and not at the campaign level just yet. So what I want to do is go back here to this first screen, and I'm actually just going to select an account or a campaign that I want to specifically look at. So I'm going to click on my search campaign. That way it's not pulling in any data from anywhere else. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on my keywords tab again here. And it's going to default to our search keywords tab, which contains the keywords that are actually entered in on the platform. So then you have your negative keywords tab here. And finally, you have your search terms report here. So that's where we want to go, is to our search terms. So click on that search terms tab and choose search terms. So once we're on the search terms report screen, you can change your date if you need to up here, but it's going to display the actual search queries that people are typing in that are triggered by your keywords. That's going to display down here. So I'm going to scroll down. You can see like a graph of activity, but otherwise I would just scroll down and you'll start seeing those search terms right here. And you can, like I said, you can change the date range, but right now I've just got it at all time. And what you're going to see is the actual search term. So this is what the user literally typed into Google. It's going to show you what match type triggered this actual query. Then it's going to tell you whether or not this keyword has been added to the campaign or not. It's going to show you what ad group. So we're in our search campaign up here, so you can see where you're at by looking at the top. And then you can see the ad group that it's in here. So you can do this at the campaign level or the ad group level. It's completely up to you. And then over here you've got different data associated with that particular search term. So what we want to do, what I like to do, is go in here and modify my columns. So this little guy right here, this little icon, will allow me to modify my column so that I can see the information and the metrics that are important to me. And like I said in the last video, the conversion data is what I want to see the most. So I'm going to look at number of conversions, and then I also want to look at the conversion rate, and I want to look at the cost per conversion. So I'm going to look at that as well. Now if you have conversion values set for your conversions, you want to pull in the conversion value as well. So that's here. So if you don't have conversion value set, then this obviously won't be very helpful for you. But if you do, then definitely pull that in as well. So we've got our conversions, cost per conversion, conversion rate, and conversion value. So that is the data that I want to apply. So I'm going to hit apply. And now you can see that over here to the right, it's added in those fields, those metrics that I want to look at. Conversions, conversion rate, cost per conversion. If you hover over them, it gives you a little bit more information about what that means. But I've explained those metrics to you before, so you guys should be good on those. And one thing that I like to do when I'm looking at a lot of data or a large time frame like this one, I like to sort by different things. So I might sort by impressions. Right now I want to sort by number of conversions, so I can see the highest number or the highest converting keywords, so I can see those first. This is just number of conversions. You can see there's been 493 total, and then you can see which keywords are actually bringing in the most conversions. And of course, then you want to take a look at the conversion rate and the cost per conversion and things like that. Now, we don't actually have any, it looks like in this account there are no conversion values set, so that data is not going to be valuable since there was no specific value entered in for a particular conversion. In this case, it is a request for a quote, I believe, or an estimate. So they just didn't calculate a value there. So what I'm going to do is I start going down the line here and just looking at the search terms. And in a brand new account, if you've just launched and you're running, broad match, or you're running broad match modifiers or phrase match, you're probably going to see a lot of different keyword variations in here that are basically variations of what you've entered in. If you have anything running on broad match, you're going to see a wider variety and probably a lot more irrelevant searches here. The tighter you have your match types, so for example, if you have all exact match and you have nothing else, you're not going to see much variation because obviously you're telling Google to only show for your exact keyword, and it can't have any words around it or anything like that. So if you're only running exact match, you actually are not going to have to do very much in this report. So if you are running broad match modifiers or phrase match or anything like that, that's when you will need to come in here and really pay close attention to what you're paying for. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list here, and first to look for anything that is just way wrong. So I'm just going to go through here and see, is there anything in here that I know for sure it is just, not relevant, I don't want to be showing for it or anything like that. So to make sure we weed out all that junk. So I'm just looking down, and everything so far is looking pretty relevant. How much does LASIK eye surgery cost? Best LASIK surgeons, those all look pretty good. LASIK eye surgery cost, that looks good. Most of these are looking pretty good. Just going to keep on going here. LASIK Plus may or may not be a good one. It does look like it had a good cost per conversion. That's definitely good, so we'll leave that one in there. And so what I'm going to also do while I go through this list is show you guys how to look for possible opportunities. So this keyword here is LASIK Plus, and it had 3 conversions, but you'll notice that it's not added as an actual keyword. So this is an example of one, and there's actually a few others up here that I missed because I was just looking for things that weren't relevant. But this is one that we can kind of go through here as well at the same time and look at any keywords that are converting. So you can see they're converting well and a low cost per conversion, and I want to add those because they're not added to my account. But what I might want to do is, because I don't have a specific ad group for this LASIK Plus, which is a very specific type of LASIK, if this LASIK provider offers LASIK Plus, what I would suggest doing is actually creating an ad group specifically for LASIK Plus, and then writing a couple of ads at least that contain this keyword LASIK Plus in the ad headline. So we want to do that to make sure that we don't just go in and add this to an existing ad group, so it looks like it's triggering from our LASIK candidate ad group. But the LASIK candidate ad group, what we could do there is possibly add LASIK Plus candidate, and then we would have our core keyword in there, and then we could add another one for just LASIK Plus, so a separate ad group for LASIK Plus, and go in and add that in there. So we will want to do that. That would be something we need to write our ad copy and do a new ad group setup for that, but that is a good one. And then I'm going to look up here and see if I see any other good ones that aren't added. LASIK surgery cost is one. See, I've got actually in this campaign, I know they've got a LASIK cost ad group, And so this LASIK surgery cost, because it's cost related, I think it would just need to stay up in this LASIK cost ad group. Let's see, how does LASIK work in LASIK candidate? That's probably one that we don't want to have show in the LASIK candidate ad group, because this LASIK candidate ad group is specifically for people that are wondering if they are a candidate or not, and it links through to a landing page that has you take like a quiz to decide whether or not you're a good candidate. So this how does LASIK work? Really, we need to add it as a negative to the LASIK candidate ad group, and what we can do is add it to a different ad group. And what I would suggest in this case is creating a different ad group that is for higher in the funnel. So these are people that are just doing research. They are probably not ready to schedule a consultation yet because they're just now trying to figure out how does LASIK work. They're asking more exploratory questions. They're not wondering about cost yet. They're not trying to find a surgeon yet. They're just in those beginning stages. They could be months or years from actually having the surgery because they're just now doing a little bit of research. So this is one that I would break out into a different ad group again and create a landing page, or send them to a page on this website that has just some general information about how LASIK works. So that's what I would do, since this LASIK candidate does not send it to a page like that. It needs to go in its own ad group. I just keep going on down the list here. Cost of LASIK those are all, see, all of these are added already into that LASIK cost ad group. And so we're just going to keep looking. Okay, here's one that probably needs to be added as a negative. So I see this word cheap, and I know that this LASIK provider is not cheap. They are definitely not the cheapest option out there. And so we will want to check this little box. So we know that's not a good term. I'm actually going to uncheck this other box that I checked up here. Make sure I don't have any others checked. Okay, so I've got that one checked that I want to exclude and add. I want to add it as a negative keyword. So I'm going to click Add as Negative Keyword. And once I do that, it's going to allow me to choose what I want to add it to as a negative keyword to. And because I don't want cheap, the word cheap used across any of the ad groups, I'm going to go ahead and choose campaign. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to actually remove it defaults to putting it in there as an exact match with the term that you selected, but the word that really I don't want is the word cheap. The other words are fine, and so I'm going to actually delete all of that, and I'm just going to use this word cheap. I don't want it, if anything says cheap, I don't want to show for it, and I'm going to choose it at the campaign level. So then I'm just going to click Save, and so now going forward, it's not going to show when these terms that are typed in contain the term cheap. So that's how we add a negative to our campaigns based on what we're seeing here in this search terms report. Now what's crazy is that it actually does have a good conversion rate, but I would venture to guess, and this is where offline conversion tracking can really come in handy, is that these people are getting a cost estimate. It's coming in off this LASIK cost ad group, but once they get an estimate, they're just shopping for price, and they just want to find the lowest price. And so I know that this company is not the lowest price, and so they aren't, even though it's a low cost per conversion, it's converting well, it is not going to produce a patient most likely for them because they are pretty high priced. And so what we want to do is make sure that we aren't just paying attention to these metrics only. If you are like doing lead gen and you have bottom line actual transactions, or the person becoming a customer happens offline, you want to make sure that you are following that process all the way through and identifying whether or not certain leads actually turn into customers or patients later on. And so you can actually import that data back into Google AdWords. Now that's not set up for this particular business right now, and so that's something I would definitely recommend for them, is to set up offline conversion tracking. And it is a little bit involved, it's pretty technical, but I have a guide in the downloads area that you can download to show you guys how to set up that offline conversion tracking, because it's highly recommended. Because in this case I would probably show that there was 0 conversions as far as becoming a patient that actually happened from that. So let's go keep scrolling down here. I'm going to uncheck that since I already added it. And we'll just keep looking through. And this is what you do, guys, is you just scroll through and look at these terms and look at, you know, how they're being brought in and whether or not they're added or excluded. And you'll just have to do this on a regular basis to make sure that you're pulling in the correct terms. And this is also something I'm going to talk about a little bit later too in keyword expansion. Because we want to find new keywords, like I was just talking about, find new keywords to create ad groups with. So I'm just going to keep scrolling and see if there's anything else coming in here. Now this is probably something that isn't great. It's just someone looking for a competitor, so we would probably want to get rid of that one. If we keep scrolling down, it says, can diabetics receive LASIK? Now that's actually pretty relevant to this LASIK candidate campaign, because that's exactly what that ad group is supposed to be doing, is helping people decide whether or not they are a candidate. Now, one thing that I'm not sure about that, you know, I would have to ask a LASIK surgeon is whether or not diabetics can have LASIK. If I found out that they can't for some reason or another, and like I said, I'm not a doctor, I don't know the answer to that, then we would go ahead and we would add this as a negative keyword, because we would already know that, you know, that's people that are asking that question, most likely they, you know someone or themselves struggle with diabetes, and so they are, if we know already that they're not a candidate, we don't want to be paying money for people who would be searching for that. So even though it is relevant, it is someone who's looking to find out if they're a candidate, we don't want to spend money on someone that we know already is not a candidate. That's perfectly fine. They're probably going to find the organic link to, you know, the quiz on the regular website. So we'll let them get to it that way and find that helpful quiz there. So again, this is the process that you're going to go through. Is you're just going to continue to do this, find negatives and add them. So find irrelevant traffic and keywords that you're paying for that aren't producing good results for you. Keeping in mind, you want to look later on down the funnel, make sure it's actually producing good quality leads, and not, you don't care if they're cheap leads if they are never going to turn into customers for you. So be mindful of that, and just make sure you're going through and looking at adding keywords, which we're going to go into a little bit more depth in our keyword expansion lesson. So that really is it for the search terms report. That's really, I know it might sound daunting, but it's pretty simple what you need to do. It's just important to stay on top of it and not let it go for weeks or months, because you will have a lot of wasted ad spend if you aren't in here really going through this in detail. And please keep in mind that if you have broad match like this one does, there's some broad match terms in here, you're going to be subject to having a lot more irrelevant types of keywords coming in than if you have, you know, phrase match or exact match on here. So just keep that in mind. But you know, it's still good even if you do have broad match, because you can get in here and you can find things that people are searching for that maybe you would have never imagined in yourself, and you never would have thought that those would be good keywords. So if you guys have any trouble with your own search terms reports, please let me know. I'm happy to always jump in here and go through yours and help you figure out which keywords you need to be adding as negatives, or which ones you guys need to be just adding to existing ad groups versus when you need to break it out and create a new ad group for it. Most of the time I'm going to tell you, if it doesn't contain, you know, the base keyword of your ad group, that you're going to need to break it if it has like a new word or implies some kind of new meaning, especially if you need to send it to a different landing page, or, you know, if the ad copy isn't going to make sense, you're going to need to create a brand new ad group for that for that keyword instead of just adding it to an existing campaign. So I hope that's helpful, and like I said, please let me know if I can help you at all with walking through your search terms reports in your accounts. I will see you guys in lesson 2.